University of Technology, Sydney, Australia. So I welcome Professor Jose MerigO for your presence and accepting our invitation to deliver a lecture. So before joining UTS, he was a full professor at the Department of Management Control and Information System at the University of Chile. Previously, he was a senior research fellow at the Manchester Business School, University of Manchester, UK, and an assistant professor at the Department of Business Administration at the University of Barcelona, Spain. He holds a master and a PhD degree in business administration from the University of Barcelona. He also holds a bachelor degree of science and of social sciences in economics, a master in European business administration and business law from Lund University, Sweden. He has published more than 500 articles in journals, books, and conference proceedings. Since 2015, Calibrate Analytics, previously known as Thomson Reuters, has distinguished him as a highly cited researcher in computer science 2015 to 2020 and cross-trade 2021 to present. He has also appeared in many other international rankings, including the Stanford NCR top 2% scientist list, research.com, Scholar GPS, and 80 scientific reviews. He is currently interested in decision making, aggregation operators, computational intelligence, bibliometric research, and application in business and economics. So he has a diverse knowledge in different fields. He is an editor-in-chief of Knowledge, member of wide range of international associations. He has been a guest editor for several international journals, members of scientific community of several conferences, and appear in a wide range of international journals. He is or has been an associated editor or editorial board members of several international reputed journals, including your foreign journal Index in Web of Science, Code Collection, and Scopus. The journals are Applied Intelligence, Applied Sound Property, Computer Science and Information System, Computers and Industrial Engineering, Economics, Computation and Economic Cybernetic Studies, and Research, Frontiers in Artificial Intelligence, Quasi Economics Review, IEEE Latin American Transaction, Information, your International Journal of Fuzzy System, International Journal of Intelligent Computing and Cybernetics, International Journal of Uncertainty, Fuzziness and Knowledge Based System, Journal of Business Research, Journal of Innovation and Knowledge, Journal of Intelligent and Fuzzy System, Journal of Statistics and Management System, Cybernetics, Operation Research and Decisions, and Technological and Ecological Development Opportunities. So these are your activities in different journals and an associate editor of both papers. So in these few words, I welcome Professor Jose MerigO to deliver your valuable lectures. Okay.
Okay.
Now, sir, you can share your presentations.
Okay. You hear me well and you can see the presentation, yes? Yes? Yes. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for a very nice introduction. Okay. My name is Professor Jose MerigO. I'm going to show you this work that I have jointly prepared with Professors Anushri Bhattacharya and Professor Pal. This is a research that we have been doing about bibliometrics, where we try to provide some kind of general overview of this field. Especially now that fuzzy graph theory becomes 50 years old, it's a great moment to present this type of review analysis. Can you can hear me, right? Yes. Okay. Excuse me. Do you see page 2? Page 2.
Yes. Okay. So can you go for full screen? This is not a
okay. Yes. Sure. I will share whole screen now. You see the whole screen? Yes. Okay. Excuse me. You see page one? Excuse me. Can you please confirm that you see page 2?
It is page 2. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
but not enough for skill.
Okay. Okay. Whatever. It's okay. Mm, Anyways. Okay.
Slideshow, in the slideshow option, I think you have to click slideshow.
Okay. Okay. Anyways, it's okay. If you can see the pages, it's okay. Okay. So then, okay, I'm gonna provide you this overview, and basically, I will show you briefly an introduction to bibliometrics. Bibliometrics is a new type of review.
Okay, continue.
Okay, excuse me. Can I? Yes. Can I continue?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So then, in this context, 1 second, please. Okay. In this context, I will show you very briefly bibliometrics. What is the ideas, general ideas of bibliometrics? As I mentioned before, it's a new type of review paper. It's becoming very popular in the last 5-10 years. So it could be very interesting. Excuse me. Can you silence the audio? There is some audio that is still open. If you can please turn it off. Hello, excuse me. Can you turn off the audio? It's not possible to present. Excuse me. Hello. Okay, perfect. Please turn all of you the audio, so it's good to present. It's good to present. Okay. As I was telling you, it's a new approach. Hello. Excuse me. There is one audio. The volume is not off. Hello. Okay. Now it's good. Okay, perfect. Okay. So as I was telling you, it's a new type of review analysis, a new methodology for building new type of review studies, which is very practical, and it has become very popular especially in the last 5-10 years, because before the process was more complex, because the bibliometrics is strongly based on computers and internet. So thanks to the development of computers and internet, nowadays it's quite easy to develop a bibliometric analysis. Before computers and internet, then there was a lot of work in this direction, but it was not possible. It was not so easy to develop this approach. Okay, so then this is kind of the general context, and the good thing nowadays, in the last 5 years more or less, is that we can develop bibliometric studies very efficiently, and this is the main reason it has become very popular. Okay, I'm just showing you this context, the general context. You probably know the Web of Science and Scopus. This was Web of Science was originally developed by Professor Eugene Garfield. He was one of the main pioneers and created Web of Science. And then at that time, it was basically with manual approach to build or to compile all this information. So that was much more complex. But thanks to the computers, it has become very popular. So then, huge potential for any of you that could be interested in developing a bibliometric review of any topic. It could be very, very practical. And there is a lot of potential because very representative papers, etc. Okay, very briefly, to show you the ideas, bibliometrics, we can define it as the research field of library and information sciences that studies bibliographic material in a quantitative way. So that is, we compile the references, the papers, etc., and then numerically we quantify all the results in terms of authors, institutions, references, citations, connections between different authors and universities, etc. And many other options, of course. Currently, as I mentioned before, there is thousands of papers in bibliometrics. Before there was already in the 70s, 80s, 90s, there was several bibliometric studies, but not so popular. Only like every year, perhaps there was 50, 40, 60 papers using a bibliometric methodology. But thanks to the computers and internet, it has been growing exponentially. And in the beginning of the millennium, already hundreds of papers published every year. And in the last 10 years, it has been growing to more than approximately 1,000 10 years ago. And in the last 2-3 years, there are more than 9,000 papers using the bibliometric methodology in journals indexed in Web of Science. So it's increasing really a lot. Probably this year, it will already reach like 10,000 papers in 1 year. So it's becoming very, very productive field. And as I told you, very interesting, very practical, etc. Here you can see you can apply a bibliometric review to very general topics, like for example, management, economics, fuzzy research, etc., engineering, etc., or more specific topics. Always the point of doing a bibliometric review, similar to literature review, is when there is some interest to compile the information and build this kind of general overview, then it becomes very interesting. Focusing on this presentation, we will focus on a bibliometric review of fuzzy graphs. As you know, fuzzy graphs was introduced by Asriel Rosenfeld in 1975 as a generalization of the classical fuzzy sets of Lotfisare in 1965. And as you can see, now in 2025, it becomes the 50th anniversary of fuzzy graph theory. Because of that, we will present this general overview. Basically, we use Web of Science score collection and trying to identify the leading trends in this context. For this, we will develop different methods. And as I mentioned already before, it's becoming very popular because it's a very practical way for representing this information. And then usually it's anyone that is interested in a new topic, it's very practical to get this information. Or alternatively, when somebody is already inside the field, to get the whole picture. Focusing on this presentation, in order to build this bibliometric review, we need to analyze and develop different types of methods and indicators. Basically, in our study, we follow the following approach. We use some database like Web of Science, Scopus, Google Scholar. In this paper particularly, we focus more on the use of Web of Science.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes?
Sorry for the interruption. The slides are not changing, sir. Please look into this.
Okay, excuse me. Are you in page 6 or page 2?
Page 2,
Page
sir.
2.
It's
Oh,
page 2.
okay.
Now it is okay, sir.
Can you
Page
see
6.
3? Yes? Okay.
Yes, sir. Now it is 3.
Okay. Okay, 1 second, please. Do you see page 4?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now it's good. Okay, perfect. Oh, sorry, I thought you could see the presentation. Okay, so then, this is the objectives, and then we analyze the different methods. In these methods, we have, we have to select a database like Web of Science, Scopus, and Google Scholar, for example. In this study, we use Web of Science. We also use a software to build a graphical analysis. In this case, we use basically VOS Viewer software developed by Van Eck and Waldman in 2010. Then the period considered, in this case, we consider 50 years, and the search strategy to analyze. In this case, basically, we use the main keyword, fuzzy graph, to identify all the results. And then we will consider, to understand the information, we will consider different indicators and techniques. For example, the most popular ones are number of papers and number of citations. Number of papers indicates productivity, number of citations, the popularity and influence. The H index is a combination between these two concepts, developed in 2005 by Hirsch. It has become very popular. The ratio cites per paper, and then the citation thresholds. For specific analysis, for example, for journals, we will consider impact factors. For universities, the general university rankings like the Shanghai, QS, etc. For countries, normalizations per capita. And in the software approach, in the graphical analysis with the Voice Viewer software, we will consider especially we will consider bibliographic coupling, co-citation analysis, and co-occurrence of keywords. There are other techniques, but particularly focus on in these three. Here you can see the main structure of the methodology. Usually it's good to briefly summarize all the structure. Basically, we have initially a process of identification. What is the question we are going to study? In this case, fuzzy graph theory. And we build the analysis with the specific questions. As I mentioned, the platform we use is Web of Science. In this case, you can see we get, after the filters, we get approximately 900 papers for analysis. So there is already more than 900 papers published on fuzzy graph theory indexed in Web of Science. And if including conferences, etc., it would be 1,200. And of course, in conferences, etc., many, many more papers. And then, we analyze all this information. As I mentioned, we get 922 documents. And then we provide the whole information with all these indicators I mentioned before. Here you see the current evolution of fuzzy graph theory of the last approximately 40 years. As you can see, in the 80s and 90s, there was only a very small number of papers published in this topic. You can see here only 4, 5, 6 papers per year. And then at the beginning of the millennium, it started to grow, but still quite slow. And since the last 10 years, you can see 2014, 15, here starts the big increase, 15, 16, it has been growing really, really a lot. Now you can see that in the last 2023, 2024, already more than 100 papers on fuzzy graphs every year. So that indicates that there are many groups currently working a lot in this field.
Excuse me once, sir.
Yes.
Please. Sir, can you please on the slideshow mode of this presentation so that the full
yes.
screen is appeared to all?
Okay, yeah, sure. Excuse me. So would you? So what do you want?
Okay, just on the slideshow mode for the full appearance of the presentation.
Oh yeah, for sure. I will share the presentation after. But do you mean now? Would you like to do something, or it's okay this visualization?
Just sir, go for the option just after the animations, that is the slideshow mode, and you will show the full screen appearance of your slides.
Okay, 1 second.
Just the toolbars appear in the top. After the animations part, there is a option slideshow.
Okay, I see here full screen. Okay, let me see. Do you see now full screen?
No, sir, it not is coming. It is not coming.
Okay. 1 second. Okay, let me see. I don't have available this slide mode option.
Okay.
I cannot find it.
Sir, just continue, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, no problem.
Okay. Okay. So this is the general evolution of fuzzy graph theory, and here we summarize this general evolution considering the number of citations of the papers. As you can see, the classic papers from the 90s and before, very, very highly cited, obviously. And if we consider the evolution of the last years, we see some exceptional cases that were very highly cited. But from a general point of view, they're still growing, around 50, some papers with 50 citations, 100, etc. And the youngest one, of course, still needs more time to grow before we can see the citation evolution of the specific papers. Focusing on journals, here you have the list of most proactive journals in this field. As you can see, the most popular journals are the journals 100% focused on fuzzy research, or alternatively some mathematics or computer science journals. So for example, you can see the most productive is the Journal of Intelligent and Fuzzy Systems, followed by mathematics. In third position, we have fuzzy sets and systems, applied mathematics, information sciences, etc. So you see that many journals in this context are publishing many papers on fuzzy graphs, well receiving this topic in the journals. And it's interesting to see that the top journals like Information Sciences and Fuzzy Sets and Systems, they have published many papers in this field. Focusing on authors, it's remarkable to see that the most proactive author is one professor from your university, Professor Pal, that has already published 85 papers in this field, also with a lot of citations. And then particularly from India, Pakistan, and Iran, especially. We also see some Chinese authors, some American authors, but not so many. We see, for example, in the American authors, we see some classical ones, like Professor Morrison, for example. But nowadays, you see that Asian countries have a very strong focus in this field. Looking to the evolution, annual evolution by countries, here more specifically, you can see this general conclusion where India, Pakistan, and China and Iran are the most productive countries. It's interesting to see that China is also productive, but you can see that Iran and Pakistan, it's much smaller countries, but they are very, very productive in this field, indicating that there are many groups in Pakistan and Iran working in this topic. Looking to the annual evolution, you see that in the 20 years ago, 25 years ago, not so many papers. And then if you look to the last years, you see here the strong growth in this context. If you see the case of India, you see how it is growing really, really a lot in the last years. Okay, now let me present you some of the results using a graphical visualization, basically by using the Boss Viewer. And then with this software, we collect the bibliographic data and we can generate graphs where we visualize the leading variables and at the same time, how they connect between each other. In this first visualization, I show you the case of co-citation of journals. It's very representative because we see the papers that publish fuzzy graphs, what journals do they cite? And obviously, it's journals in the field, like, for example, Information Sciences, Journal of Intelligent and Fuzzy Systems, Mathematics, etc. But the interesting issue with the graph is that we see how the journals connect between each other in terms of citations. Intuitively, it's quite obvious that inside this field where we have fuzzy journals, computer science, and mathematics, somehow we will see this kind of alignment. As you can see, for example, in the blue color, you see mostly the mathematics journals. In the pink, you see more the fuzzy and computer science journals focused on fuzzy research. And then yellow and green, some other related topics. So you see that from a general point of view, you see the blue section and the pink indicating fuzzy journals, computer science, together with the mathematics journals. This is the main journals publishing on fuzzy graphs. Focusing on classical papers, obviously, the most cited papers are the classic paper of Rosenfeld in 1975 and the classic paper of fuzzy sets of Professor Lec-3 in 1965. Because, fuzzy graphs is built on the idea of Rosenfeld and previously on the idea of Zare in 1965. Apart from these two classic papers, we see here many other popular papers published by many leading authors in the field of fuzzy graphs and fuzzy sets in general. Here I show you a visualization of bibliographic coupling. See that the difference between co-citation and bibliographic coupling is that co-citation analysis visualizes the most cited journals, while bibliographic coupling visualizes the most productive journals. So in this figure, you have the journals that publishes more on fuzzy graphs. Equivalent to the table you saw at the beginning of journals, you can see that Journal of Intelligent and Fuzzy Systems is the most proactive, followed by Mathematics, Fuzzy Sets and Systems, Information Sciences, etc. And as you can see again, the cluster in red, fuzzy and computer science journals, the cluster in blue, stronger orientation to mathematics, etc. Focusing on a graphical visualization of the most proactive authors, we use bibliographic coupling. You can see the parameters we have used in the software to generate the graph. And basically, again, we see similar to the table, the most proactive authors. But here, the interesting issue with the graph is we see the most proactive authors, but we also see how they connect between each other. An intuitive result here is that authors from the same research groups or even from the same country tend to connect more between each other. So, for example, in the yellow cluster, you can see the authors connected to Professor Pal. So you see mostly many authors from India. In the cluster in pink, you see the authors connected to Professor Akram, mostly from Pakistan, and so on. In terms of universities, we have a similar approach. In this case, you see here the green cluster around Vidyasagar and the red one around the University of Punjab. Okay, now the other interesting point when we develop a bibliometric review is to analyze how the keywords and topics that are more popular in this context. In this context, obviously, the most popular keywords is quite intuitive. As we can see here, fuzzy graphs and fuzzy set are the most popular, more frequent keywords. But apart from these two, is also to interest what other keywords we find. From a general perspective, and a significant result, because this has been one of the big research lines in this field, the development of new types of fuzzy graphs based on different types of fuzzy sets. You can see that it has become very popular to use, for example, vague graphs, intuitionistic fuzzy graphs, picture fuzzy graphs, neurosophic and polar, etc. So you see that this is one of the sections very interesting to use when developing fuzzy graph papers. And then the other one has been on the focus of different properties, operations, and characteristics of fuzzy graphs. So, for example, you can see here isomorphism, composition, dominating set, complement, Cartesian product, etc. And not many, but some applications. Mostly you can see in decision making is the application area where more papers have been focusing when they develop some applications. Note that since this field is very mathematical, very theoretical, from a mathematical point of view, many papers usually just focus on theoretical development and not on the applicability part. And this is one of the reasons you can see here, we do not see in the popular keywords so many applications. So in general, from a general point of view, I repeat, you see that fuzzy graph, fuzzy set, obvious, and then we have the extensions, all the different extensions, and then different properties, operations, etc. Technically, it should also be the applicability part, but today, still, the applicability part has not been developed so much. There has been a lot of work in the last 3-5 years, but more research is needed. Okay, it would be nice to present you, this, of course, we have a much longer analysis in the full paper. So if you are interested, just let us know and we will provide the draft we have now in revision with much more information on this overview. Okay, so, I see it's already 7 o'clock, so I don't have so much more time. So very briefly, let me mention that, with this approach, you can see how is the structure of a field. In this particular example, we see the case of fuzzy graphs. And of course, we could do this for many other approaches and contexts. For example, we could develop this for countries, authors, universities, other topics, other journals, etc. And as I told you at the introduction of the session, it's becoming a very popular field. So I really recommend you to work in this direction. Okay, so very briefly, as main conclusions, here you have seen very briefly, but you have seen a general overview of fuzzy graph theory. If you're interested, please let us know and we will send you the full draft so you have more information. Key ideas, we see that Asian countries are becoming the most popular in this field, very productive, especially India, Pakistan, and China. And from the graphical perspective, we can see also how these leading variables connect between each other. Some general ideas are the journals. We see this kind of two general sections between fuzzy journals and computer science and more mathematical-oriented journals, and fuzzy somehow in the middle. And then from the authors and institutions, we see how the regional perspective, so for example, authors and institutions from India, authors and institutions from Pakistan, from China, etc., how they usually tend to connect between each other more frequently. Not always, there are many other different exceptions, but usually this is the basic result. Okay, and from a general point of view, let me mention that we are working in this direction very strongly nowadays, very intensively, the development of different types of bibliometric reviews. Of course, as many of you also fuzzy graphs, etc. But here in this context, bibliometrics, let me mention that we have been developing this a lot in different topics, like for example, computer science, very general ones like computer science, engineering, or more specific. And particularly, we are now developing a lot of work in the development of bibliometric studies for journals, especially when they celebrate an anniversary, because then it becomes a very representative work that usually gets a lot of popularity because it's a joint work with the editor-in-chief, etc. As an example, here with Professor Bhattacharya Pal, we are currently in the process, completing the process for a paper for the 50th anniversary of applied mathematical modeling and for computational biology and chemistry. These two papers will appear in 2026 very soon. And additionally, many other work in progress and more journals in consideration for the future. Okay, yeah, and then you can see different references more from the bibliometric context here. As I told you, if you're interested, please let us know. We can provide you the full draft of the paper with all the information where you can see more specifically what are the leading journals, authors, the most cited papers, etc. Okay, it's already 7 o'clock, so I don't have more time. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am open now for any questions, comments you would like to mention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for your So this is a new type of research. Basically, this is called the implementing research. Professor MerigO published a lot of such kind of papers in 20 years. So he inspired us to prepare this kind of paper from the 50 years of Ajira theory. And he has supplied a lot of information from scope of analysis, of science, and also myself, of course, interviews with the help of discussion. And thank you for your contribution to this paper and this presentation also. So he has published a lot of implementing papers. So yesterday I searched the good scholar page. So it's a lot of such kind of publications are here with high citations, say more than 800, 900 like that. So I think with the help of your direction, we can prepare more papers in the same field. So thank you very much for your suggestion and support. So everybody have any questions from your side, students or faculty member from online or offline mode?
Okay, as I told you, if you're interested, please just let us know and we will send you the full draft of the paper where you can see all the results. Okay, there's a question?
Sir, I have a question. Are you with me? Sir?
Yes.
Actually, these kind of articles are review articles, we thought. But what can be done for the research article? Means new
Yes.
innovation in bibliometric.
Yes. Yes, this type of work, yeah, we need to be aware that this type of work is a new type of literature review paper. So it's usually you have the surveys, the general literature review papers, but with this approach we are offering a new type of literature review that still has not been developed, not published before. So that's the reason we have the motivation for doing this. Because it's if we could also do a literature review of fuzzy graphs, and many times it's very interesting, of course, but this is already classical work, and then so from our point of view, we try to offer a new approach for summarizing the information, for providing this kind of new type of review paper. So yes, from the research perspective, we need to be aware that it's a review paper. So then, it's a review paper, and the contribution we have is, first of all, the general picture. This is very informative, very practical to have all this information. And then when we analyze the data, usually the general result we usually get is people with experience in the field. Usually it's basically confirmation of the results that we more or less intuitively know. But then it's interesting to see the particular results. For example, you have, for example, a general idea in this field, but for example, when you look to the journals, for example, you know that journals in mathematics, computer science, and fuzzy research, these are the journals that publishes on this field. But particularly, it's interesting to see nowadays which journals are publishing more, which papers gets more cited. All these kind of practical ideas that are very good to have to get a more general perspective in this field. So this, for people working in the field, is very practical. I can tell you that you usually know these ideas, but you don't know exactly the numbers. And then sometimes you find differences that could also give you the opportunities, because you see, okay, this journal seems to be interested in this field, so then you could try to submit it to this journal. It can give you many practical ideas in this context. And for younger researchers, like PhD students or newcomers in the field, somebody that has been working in a different topic and wants to enter into this field, then this approach is very practical, because with a very practical and quick informative, they can learn all this information. So, for example, by just reading this bibliometric review, you can more or less get a good overview of the field. That when you are entering the topic, could be a newcomer or a PhD student, then you just need a couple of hours reading this article and you get this information. If you do this by yourself, you could also do it, but it's a much slower process. So that's the advantage of this paper. Then it's good to have this paper, and that's the motivation for this work. It's quite similar to the literature review. Why do we have literature reviews published in journals? Because people, newcomers, PhD students, just reading this literature review, they can quickly get the main ideas of the paper, right? So then the literature review is more theoretical, and then here is the more practical perspective, we could call it. And from the research perspective, the practical issue is from journals, authors, etc. And then from the research perspective would be the development of keyword and topical analysis, where we can see from a topical perspective how the field is evolving. So we can see more practically what are the topics more popular. And then we see that nowadays this topic it's more popular, this one is less. So then this could give us indications where potential opportunities to work in a specific topic. Questions like this. But yes, it's this type of work is a review analysis. We need to be aware that it's like we have literature reviews, and then this approach is a new type of literature review. And the good thing is it's a new type of literature review, and that's the reason there is the opportunity to build the work.
Okay, thank you, sir. So thank you very much for your elaborate explanation regarding the work of this particular type. This is the bibliometric research. This research also in the last section we have also concluded what are the present status because we have filled it, and what are the future direction of questions. That one is also good investigation for this type of studies. Apart from the presented things, this type of research also highlighted the present status and the future direction of this particular topics. So thank you very much, Professor, for your nice explanation regarding the all these things, your questions. So thank you once again for your deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Talk to you. Bye.
Now, the next session, this is the break session. The next session will start at 2:30 p.m. So we'll reach here exactly at 2:30 p.m. So for the students, we have the small people in the ground floor. and you return that exactly to country.
আমি তো সেটা খুঁজছি কিন্তু এই যে ধান চাষ হয়েছে না এখন ওই মাটি পাওয়া যাবে না যার একটু উঁচু জায়গায় ধান চাষ হয়নি রাস্তাতেও থাকবে সেই চাষ হয়নি ও পুরোটা দিয়ে দিয়েছে না দিয়ে দিয়েছে তারপর একবার সেদিন গিয়েছে গিয়ে বলছে মালিককে ক্লাবে দেখা করবে দেশের শঙ্কর উৎসাহীদের ওই বাড়িটার সামনে ক্লাবটা শঙ্কর উৎসাহীদের ফোন করে বলছি এরকম এসেছিল আর বলতে এসেছে আমি কিন্তু মানে আমি দেখিনি আমাকে দেখা করতে বলেছে আমি তো দেখা করবো না এখন কিন্তু তুমি বলবে তোমার এইতে যে যাতে না আসে তোমাদের যা অ্যাক্টিভিটি যখন হবে তখন আমাকে বলে দিবে বা আসবে আমি তখন যতটা পারবো আমি কন্টিনিউ কিন্তু এমনি আমি কিছু দিতে পারবো কালী পুজো হয় যারা কালী পুজোর সময় দেখবে আমি টাকা দিয়ে দিলাম কিন্তু এখন যে এখন পুজো ওই মত থেকে শেষ করে দিই হ্যাঁ